Yo, welcome back to today's video. It's Winx. Today I'm going to show you how to create simple shader graph like so with a decal in. I'm going to terrain around my island and I'm going to add water around as well and make it an island. To get started, I'm going to start with the terrain and the water. This is a screen grab from afterwards. Now let's get right into it. So to add a terrain, I'm going to add the little plus icon up here. Go to 3D object and go to terrain. It will spawn something like so. From here, you can go to the settings icon in the inspector, scroll down until you see terrain width and length, and you can change that accordingly. I'm going to try 300 first, way too big. Let's try 100. I think that'll be about good. 100 by 100. I'm going to press F on my keyboard to get close to it, the move tool, and I'm just going to move this terrain somewhere I see suitable. Now, it's good that my terrain is not touching the ground. If your terrain is touching, like so, yeah, move it down, just ever so slightly. I think around about there is good. I'll go back to 0 just because that's where it's good for me. But yeah, if your terrain is touching your floor, move it downwards. From here, go to the Paint Terrain. Under this tab, go to Raise and Lower Terrain. And you can raise your terrain. Obviously, that was a bad example. Alternatively, you can go to Set Height. And if you know the desired height, which you can work out, so you see height here, you can set that to, let's try 10. That's too big. So let's try 5. And we can try to match that. That's good. That's a good size. Now from here, we can just go above it. Make the brush size a little bit bigger. That was probably a little bit too big. Something like that. And just paint the terrain so it's a reasonable size around it. From here, I'm going to go to smooth height. And I'm just going to leave everything the same, but turn the brush size down. Not that small, maybe 10. 10's good. And I'm just going to smooth them edges off so they aren't so sharp. From here, we can go into the raise and lower terrain. We can adjust the brush size to maybe something like that. We can adjust the opacity to the very smallest we possibly can. Just drag it to the left, scroll in, and just paint that terrain slowly. You want to just ever so slightly above. Like so. Once you've done that and all of your map is encased with terrain, you can now click onto smooth terrain again. You can adjust the opacity and the brush size, and you can smooth that out. Maybe turn the opacity higher, smooth it more. Now I think that looks good for me. From here, I think I will go to Paint Texture, and I would leave it on this window. I'm going to go to Polyhaven. And I'm going to find terrain, and we're just going to look for maybe a grass texture. For the purpose of this video, I'm just going to use this one. Same again, 2K GITF format, download. While that's downloading, go to your Unity project, go to your textures tab and get that ready for it. Go back to that, open the zip, open the textures folder, drag everything from there into textures, create a new folder with right click, name it grass, drag everything into that folder, open it, click on the normal map, turn that into a normal map, scroll down and apply. That's all we need to do for now. Now if we just click back on the terrain, we go back to this section, we need to edit terrain layers, create terrain layer, and we need to search the name of this. So it's coast diffuse. Just double click on that. We'll get a little thing like so. If we click on this new layer, we can now import our normal map. And once again, like normal, we need to open our mask map packer. We need to open our mask map packer and place the roughness in the smoothness map. We need to enable input as a roughness map, pack and save texture. Now find that folder and save. Go back to terrain, scroll down and apply your mask map where so. Now you can scroll in and you can adjust these sliders in the channel remap for the desired effect. We don't want any metal on there. AO will just adjust ever so slightly. And the smoothness we will turn down completely. Maybe something like there is good. From here we can also adjust the normal map, which will give us depth. I think somewhere like there is good. And we can also adjust the size by adjusting the size scaling here. The larger number you input, the larger your texture will be spread across your terrain. For now, I'm going to leave that like so. I'm going to find another texture. For this part of the video, I'm going to show you how to use Quixel Bridge. So for starters, go to quixel.com/bridge and you'll get a page like so. Just hit download bridge. Once you get like so, save it wherever you would like to save it, run that program and get yourself into a program like so. To log into Bridge, you need an Epic Games account, the same as a Fortnite account. Once you have installed Bridge and logged in, you will be met with a page like so. You want to go to Edit, Export Settings, and you want to change the target export to Unity. You want to choose a suitable location for your downloads. So I've created a specific folder for all of my Bridge assets. From here, we want to just press Textures and ensure that this says Unity, and this format we want to change to PNG. That's all we need to do for now. From here, we need to ensure our Unity project is open, and we need to go to File Explorer, visit this PC, and search Mega Scan. This takes a while to load, just let it load. Once loaded, you need to find Megascan's importer Unity package file. From here, you just need to drag this into your Unity assets folder. It will bring up a little window like so. Just press import. This will take a while to import. Once this has installed and everything has compiled, you will be given a window like so. You just need to make sure that everything looks similar to mine and enable plugin is enabled. From here, you can either close this tab or you can drag it over and add it to your inspector tab, like so. Now go back to Bridge. You can now search for the asset you would like. I'm going to go for a grass. For the demonstrations of this video, I'm just going to use this grass texture. So to get started, you want to just click download. Let that download. Once everything has downloaded, you can go to this little three icons and press go to files. You may now minimize Bridge and you may find albedo, AO, normal, and roughness. This is all you need from here. If there was a metal, I would have added a metal too, metal or metallic. I'm going to create a new folder called grass 2. And I'm just going to drag everything that I've just imported into that new folder. Now once again, I need to make a mask map packer. The AO in the ambient occlusion, the roughness into the smoothness, input is a roughness, pack and save texture, textures, grass 2, save. Once again, I can now go back to my terrain, edit terrain, create layer, and find the name of this, which is called VCP. Albedo, double click on that new layer. First, we need to convert the normal map. So convert the normal map into a normal map and press apply. Now we can click back on this terrain and apply the normal map. We can also apply the mask map. From here, we can start to blend our textures in using the sliders and getting the desired effect. You notice the grass is not quite set up yet. I just need to adjust the channel remap sliders. It's not metallic. The AOR, I don't mind. Smoothness, we will turn down. Maybe bring the ambient occlusion up. Then from here, we will scale ever so slightly, maybe 5 on each. Maybe more, try 10. Something like that looks good for me. And I'm just going to paint some of this terrain in, blend it in. Now remember, in real life, you would have no solid edges between two different terrains, so they must blend. I fade them out. You can do this by using this brush, and you can just fade ever so slightly. Like so. Now from here, I'm going to go back to Bridge, and I'm going to search for a dirt. And I'm just going to use something simple. Use this one. Once again, hit download. Once everything is downloaded, hit the three icons and go to files. You can now go back to Unity. Create a folder first. I would normally recommend that, but I forgot last time. Create a folder and name it dirt. Open that folder. Go back to your dirt, albedo, AO, normal, and roughness. There is no metallic again. Drag them in. Now we can close that. Once again, mask map packer. Roughness in the roughness. Enable roughness. Drag AO to AO. Pack and save texture. Like so. From here, we can also add this as a new layer. Create layer. XEU. Double click the albedo. Add this new layer. We can now convert this normal map to a normal map. Click back on the layer. Add the normal map. Add the mask map. Now from here, we can also go in and just blend some dirt around the edges. Now, if it's too dark for you or too light for you, you can adjust the little color tint icon here. For me, I want to try and darken this ever so slightly. Something like so would be good for myself. I'm also going to add a water to this map. So to do that, we need to go to Edit, Project Settings, and we need to search for water. And inside of all of these sections, we need to enable water rendering. Make sure water rendering is enabled. Then on high fidelity, water rendering is enabled. And then on the last one, water rendering is enabled. I don't believe there's one on there, but we'll confirm. We'll just do that one anyway, just to be safe. And that's all you need to do. Once you have enabled water rendering, we need to go to Sky and Fog Volumetrics. We need to scroll to the bottom, add component and type water and enable water rendering and make sure state is enabled. From here, we can now go to the hierarchy, enable water surface and add a water surface. Enable simulation interaction. You'll be given something like so. You can go to the top and on the scale, on the y-axis, you can adjust this for the height. Something that looks good like that. Just like so. Now from here, we're going to go back to Blender and do some work in Blender. So before we do that, just ensure that this project is saved. Open your Blender file. Now I'm going to quickly create some walls around the outside of this, just so it doesn't look silly. So from here, let's get set up to create something using shader graph. I'm going to quickly create a obstacle to connect the two ramps, and I'm going to shader graph it in Unity with a decal. So I will quickly come up with an object. For the purpose of this, I'm going to make something grindable. Isolate that one, delete the bottom face because we do not need it. Unisolate. From here, I'm going to quickly create what I would use as my rail ledges. I'm going to duplicate them edges, separate them edges. Now select them edges, delete only the face. Once we have our edges, I'm going to extrude and type -0.5. Once again, I'm going to select all and merge by distance. I'm going to go into edge mode and select my top edges. And I'm just going to extrude and then press S to scale and slide inwards. I'm going to find somewhere where I find looks good, like so. And from here, I'm going to align myself on this axis. I'm going to press scale again, and I'm going to press Y because I only want to scale on that axis. And I'm going to make them look around about the same, even sides. Now, this is what will be our metal grindable area in the game. I need to flip the normals with Shift N. I'm going to go back into object mode, Control A, and apply all transforms. Unisolate that. In object mode, go to a modifier, add a modifier, and solidify that. And you want to make sure that on the offset it's set to 1. And I normally go for around about 0.03 to 0.05, something like that, just to get a little bit of lip, just so it catches the sunlight in the game if it's so slightly different. You can also make sure that even thickness is enabled, and then we can apply that. We can then once again go into edit mode using tab, select all, merge by distance. We can now isolate that object, go into face mode, and delete the faces we do not need. Then we can unisolate, and we can rename this ledge metal. Now we go back to our ledge and we isolate that. Everything still looks standard. This is actually what we will grind on. This bit is just a visual mesh renderer with no collider. Like our Copens, we do the same with this. So from here, I'm going to go into UV edit mode. And I'm going to UV edit my metal using Brooksy's trim sheet. So to do so, I'm just going to smooth shade by angle so we get them edges. So to select our seams easier, I'm going to go to select, sharp edges, and then I'm also going to select these corner edges on the inside. Mark seam. From here we can select all, U, unwrap, and we will be given something like so. This bottom one here, we also need to add seams. It seams. Mark seam. Unwrap. It's a little bit better. Now we can align everything to the middle of the canvas. And we can choose a color for our metal. I'm going to go with red. Unisolate this. Give ourselves more view. Now, the next part we're going to talk about a decal and a texture. So let's go and find a texture for our box. We'll use a concrete. We'll use this one. And I already have it downloaded, so I'm just going to open the file. And I need the albedo, AO, normal, and roughness. I can drag that into my Unity project, into my textures folder. And I can call that, make a folder and call that concrete 2. Drag all of them files into that folder. Once again, make a map, mask map, drag your AO to your AO your roughness to your smoothness, enable roughness, pack and save. I'm starting to get quicker with this process, by the way, because I'm feeling like I'm just repeating myself. Textures, concrete 2, save, close this. Now we can create a new material. Once you have your concrete textures, you want to create a material. You can also go to File, Edit, Shortcuts, and search material here. And you want to look for main menu, assets, create material. You want to double click and set a shortcut of your choice. Mine's Shift, Control, and M. And from here you can just press and create a material like so. I'm going to now name this concrete decal. And from here I'm also going to create a shader graph, HDR lit shader graph. I'm going to name this the same thing, concrete decal. Now back on the material, I'm going to go at the top where it says shader, and I'm going to search the name of the shader graph I just created. Concrete decal. You'll see nothing appears yet. Now that we have our shader graph created, we're going to click on the shader graph and open shader graph editor. We're going to slide this off this dock if yours ends up docked there, just so it undocks itself, and then we're going to make it on the big screen. Now from here, we're going to add a texture 2D, and we're going to name it albedo. We're going to Control D on that. We're going to rename that normal. We're going to Control D on that again. And we're going to rename this one decal. Now we're going to drag the albedo into the middle. We're going to drag triplanar. So drag away from that and then type triplanar and double click on that. From here, from where it says tiling, drag up and type float, like so. Right click on that, convert to property. Rename this albedo tiling. Drag that below albedo. From here, slide this along. Out of the output of the triplanar, drag and type saturation. And double click on saturation in. Now from the output of saturation, drag and type contrast. Double click on contrast in. From contrast out, drag out and type white balance. Click on white balance in, double click. Now highlight everything, drag it away, give yourself some more space. Now we're just going to go through and give ourselves controls over these effects. So we're going to drag from the saturation and type float. Right click on that and convert to property. We're going to right click on that, rename to saturation. And we're going to put saturation albedo. Now we're just going to do the same again for the rest. Drag out of this, type float. Right click, convert to property. Rename contrast albedo. Same again for this one, but we're going to go from temperature this time. And we're going to type float. Right click, convert to property. And we're going to rename this one white balance albedo. Now we can drag all of these by control clicking on them all and drag them under albedo. Now from here, we can drag out of the output of white balance into a lerp, and we want that to go into the A of lerp, the alpha of lerp. Now we're going to drag our decal in. We're going to drag from the decal and we're going to type sample. We're going to click on sample texture 2D. Now we're going to go up and we're going to select all of the things we made earlier. We're going to Control D. We're going to drag them down. We're going to delete this little attachment and attach this one from the RGB into the in. Now from here, we can just drag these up a little bit and give ourselves more room. And we can drag the out into the B of lerp. Now from here, we can go from the alpha of sample. We can type contrast. And we want the in of contrast. From out of contrast, we can go straight in to the T of lerp. Now we want a float coming out of contrast. And we want to convert that again into a property. We want to rename that Decal Alpha Contrast. Or, alternatively, Decal Alpha Strength. So that is all it. That is everything now for a simple decal texture. That's all you need to do. Now from here, you can take the out into the base. Oh, my bad. If you just drag this over now, you can take the out of the lerp into the base, and that would be it finished. We do need to go in and set the properties. I'm going to do that next. But I'm also going to add something else as well. So from the output, I'm going to type blend. I'm going to pick on the base of blend. And then from the blend of the blend, yeah, I'm going to drag that up and type color in the American way of spelling it. Double click. And then in the color section, I'm going to make that white. In the alpha, I'm going to drag this all the way to the top and close this off. I'm going to leave this one for now. In the mode, I'm going to change that to lighten. In the opacity, I'm going to drag another one up to the top of that and type float. I'm now going to convert this to a property. And I'm going to name this one lighten. From here, I'm going to take the output to the base color. Now from here, we need to find our normal. I'm going to drag that to the very bottom. And I'm now going to drag that into the scene. From here, I'm going to drag sample, texture 2D. Oh, actually, apologies, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to type triplanar texture. Now, in the type here, we're going to pick from on default and we're going to change it to a normal. Now, from there, we're going to take from the output and we're going to type normal strength. And you want this to go into the in of normal strength. Now, from strength on there, you want to drag up and type float. You want to right click on float and convert that to a property. Rename that to normal strength. From there, we want to take the output of there into the normal of our stack. So we can take this over if you like, make it a little bit easier. I also like to group things together by right clicking and grouping and naming it normal. And then you can take from the output to the normal. That's all we need to do for now. I'm going to come back in and add the rest later, but that's just a simple way of how to get the decal and the texture to mix. Now if we click on the material, you'll notice we have these sliders. I haven't set any of the properties yet. I'm going to go over to Blender now. I'm going to set up the Blender file. I have already done this because I made a mistake earlier and didn't record. So we're going to go open the file and we're going to go into the UV editor mode. And the object that I'm going to UV edit, I'm going to select the face that I want the decal to appear on. So in this case, I want my decal to sit on here. I'm going to select this face and only this face and unwrap that using the U key. Now in this side of the window, I'm going to open the folder icon and oh, actually, just stumbled upon me that we haven't actually found a graffiti yet. Let's go into Quixel Bridge and find a graffiti. So I use this one, Smoky. Let's download this one. Once that downloads, you just want to hit the three dots and go to Files. And you want to find Albedo and Opacity. You want to drag that into your Unity project. And it's okay to go in the concrete file because it's part of the same material. Now from here, you want to open a Photoshop of your choice. So you can either use Photoshop or in my case, I'm using Affinity Photo, which are currently doing a 6-month free trial. Yeah, get on it. It's free. There's no payment method given to them at all. You just register, you get the application and download it. That's what I'm using to this purpose. So once you've got your software open, you want to drag your opacity and your albedo into your Photoshop surface. I'm just going to align them to the center. They don't want to align to the center. There we go. I drag the opacity above it. Now on Affinity, I don't know how it is in Photoshop, but the Affinity, this is how you do it. You would just rasterize this one to a mask, and then you would mask to below. It's literally that simple. From here, we can export, ensure that we are exporting as a PNG. Actually, one last thing I forgot to note. This scale is going to be far too big. This is a 2K texture that I've used, but its scale is going to be too big. You'll see what I mean. So I'm just going to rescale that. We can later come in and add more graffitis in, like an atlas, and make a full atlas out of this. This is just the early steps of how to do this. Like so. I'm going to save this file too. Save as. And I'm going to name it as Graffiti Atlas. Wait, I didn't even look where I saved that. Oh, it's okay, I saved it in the right place. Now I'm going to export that in the same place. There we go, Graffiti Atlas. I'm now going to open that Graffiti Atlas in Blender. Now we need to preview the texture and we need to find out which orientation it is on. So it needs to be flipped in this direction and then, oh, flipped in this direction. Now from here we can just align it to where we see fit. Make it smaller by making the UV bigger. Not that small, maybe something like that. Yeah, looks good to me. And then the rest of it, so what we're going to do now is we're going to press A, and then we're going to shift click the face that we've just unwrapped, and we're going to unwrap that. And the rest of this, we're just going to scale and make sure that it's in an invisible part of the PNG. It can be anywhere as long as it's an invisible part of the PNG. I've just noticed now that I've got a bit of overlapping there. So I'm going to fix that. I'm now going to click on that face. I'm just going to rescale it ever so slightly. Looks okay for me. Now that's all I need to do. If you notice, that's all of the unwrap I've got on one unwrap. I can now go back into layout. I can save this file as it is. I can select everything. Tab into tab into edit mode. Select everything again. Control T to triangulate. And export FBX. Now I need to overwrite my previous file again. So that one, change the transform to Z forward, apply transform, export. Now I can close this window and don't save. I can minimize this for temporarily. Now from here, oh, I went flying there. From here, our UV should be aligned correctly. We just need to apply the material. And then we need to click on the material, and we need to now build the material. So our albedo for our concrete goes in the albedo. And the graffiti atlas, we need to click on it and make sure alpha is transparent. Apply. Now we can click back on the material, add the graffiti atlas into the decal, and then we can add the normal into the normal. And we just need to ensure that normal is a normal, which it is. That's all we need to do for now. Right, so now we need to click on, and we need to click on all of the floats, and we need to change the mode to a slider. Now for a tiling, it's okay to leave as default. For a saturation, I would recommend to change it to a slider and maybe change the default to a 0.5. For the contrast, I'm going to change it to a slider again. I'm going to change the default to a 1, and the minimum to a -2, and the maximum to a 2. For the white balance, I'm going to change it once again to a slider. Default, I'm going to set as a 0.5, and I'm going to leave the other values as they are. For the decal strength, I'm going to change the slider, and I'm going to set the default as a 0.5, and I'm going to change the minimum to a 0.1. For the lighten, I'm going to change once again to a slider, change the default. No, I'm going to leave the default as is. I'm going to leave it as is. Leave it as is. Now for the normal strength, I'm going to change the mode to a slider. I'm going to change the maximum to a 3. And I'll leave the default. I'll change the default to a 0.5. And I'll save. Now I'm just going to scan around and confirm that everything looks good. Oh, actually, I need to add my triplanar tiling. I'm just going to add that there, and then I'm going to rename this to tiling instead. Now we can save this and close. Now we can come back to this window, adjust the slider, zoom in, you'll notice we start to see it. Saturation will leave some low. Contrast will bring up just a tad. White balance will keep where it is. to take the contrast down actually. And there you go. For some reason they're just having random field days. But yeah, I'm just playing with sliders by the way now, just to give you an idea of how you can get certain desired effects. I want mine to be like, yeah. I want to bring the saturation and pop that out a little bit. And I've just remembered I didn't add floats to my decal, so I'm now going to go back in and add them in the shader. Oh, I did. They have the separate ones. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete all of these. And I'm going to drag off and type float. Float. And from temperature on the white balance, type float. Now you can convert all of these to property. And if you hover over it, you'll see the name turns blue of which one it is. That's how you work out which one it is. So we can rename this one saturation. Like that. And we can name this one contrast. And we can name this one white balance. And I'm going to add this under the decal so I know which one it is. Like so. I'm going to press save. Close the shader graph now. Open this window again. Oh, there's a mistake. I always do that. I'm still learning this. I'm sure everyone will make the same mistakes at first. We need to click on the floats that we just created and edit the mode to slider. Now for saturation, I'm going to set the default as a 1. And contrast, I'm going to change to a slider. Default. This time we'll do 0.5. Min, we'll do -2. No, we'll do -1. 1. White balance, change that to a slider. Default 0.5. Leave the default settings. Now we can close. Click on that material. Now I have more properties to play with. My decal seems to have disappeared. I'm not 100%. Oh, there it is. Because I've got the contrast all the way down. See the desired effects we can get. Even that just looks a bit cool, different. It's a cool way with the slider that you can get a lot of outcomes from the same image. And on my last map, I used a completely colored decal atlas. But if you look at my map, there is not a single decal apart from one mushroom that actually has color. It's just all of it is done through the shader. But even then, it shows you how powerful it is if you look there. And then that's like the outcome. It's quite crazy. But yeah, there's a simple shader graph. From here, I need to go back to Blender and texture my walls, or I can just give it a simple concrete decal, and I can now go back into Blender and I can just align it to my shader. So open the map, go to UV editing. Now if you want to make this so it's a little bit easier to the eye, you can just press checker mark, and now you'll see it's a box instead of invisible. It can just be a little bit easier to find and see, especially when you're about to do what I'm about to do. So you click on this object now if you want to align it with the shader. Select it. Have all of it selected. Rescale and put that in an invisible part of the PNG. Now if you have any areas you would like to have the decal, for example, I'm going to put one on this wall quickly. I'm going to use the loop cut tool, and I'm going to put two loop cuts in. Go back to my selection tool, rescale. Not actually, because actually it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm going to rescale it to around there. Around there is good. Now I'm going to go into face mode. I'm going to select that face, and I'm going to unwrap that face, align that to the world. Now I can hit preview texture, and I can hover over that, give that a decal, like so. Now I know that that has a decal. If you want, because it's going to be good in my future videos, if it's want, you can also now press the little plus icon and you can give it a smart unwrap, and you can drag the margins up ever so slightly, just like so. And then you can change the checker if you want. And this one here is your light map. This one will get used for bakery in my later videos. For now, the UV1 is the shader. So now we can go back to layout. We can save that as is. Make sure it's saved. And we can select all, tab into edit mode, select all, Control T to triangulate, file, export, FBX, find our projects, overwrite our file, and change the transform to forward Z, forward, yeah, whatever I said, forward Z forward, and apply transform, export FBX. Now we can close that window, don't save, come back into Unity, and boom. How cool is that? So the only thing we have left to do is add our ambient occlusion and our roughness into our shader. So we can click on the shader graph, open shader editor, drag this away. Oh, rescale with the middle of your mouse, and we're going to add a texture 2D, and we're going to call this smoothness, whatever you want to call it, something along the lines of smoothness or roughness. I've actually added one too many O's there. Oh well. I'm going to drag this in. I'm going to drag from that and type triplanar. Just going to zoom in so I can see it. I'm now going to drag from the tiling again into the tiling of the triplanar. And from here, I'm going to drag and type remap. And I'm going to select remap in. And then from here, I'm going to drag the output into smoothness. I can't actually see which one it is. Not that one, that one. Now go back to the remap, and from the out, min max, we want to go float. We want to convert that to a property and rename smoothness. We want to change the type now. I'm going to just do it straight away to a slider, change the default to 0.5, and I think that will do. We'll leave the default settings, and from here we're going to add another texture 2D, and we're going to name this AO. We're now going to drag this in. We're going to drag it off that one and type triplanar. We're now going to add the tiling to the tiling of the AO. Now we're going to drag from that and type remap again. And then we're going to go from remap to AO on the output. There we go. Now from there, we're also going to do again, from the output min max, type another float. I'm going to convert that to a property. Straight away again, I'm just going to change the default to a slider, change the default to a 0.5. I changed the mode from default to slider, yeah. Sorry guys, my brain is cooked with this. I imagine yours is. I'm going to rename that to AO strength. And now I'm going to save this. Now I'm going to scroll up to find metallic. And I'm just going to drag off this one and type float. Now I'm going to convert that to a property. And I'm going to rename that to metallic. Now we're going to save this again. Now we can close this window. I said close. Now we can click back on our material and we can input our inputted textures that we need to input. So the roughness into the smoothness, the AO into the AO, and I didn't set a metallic. However, it's not necessary because it's not a metal texture anyway. From here we can play with the settings of smoothness, and if you notice, where is my sun? Don't actually know where my sun is in this scene. We can just set this somewhere desired, like so. And the AO we can also do like so, which is probably more noticeable in an area like here. I think somewhere like there is good for me. I'm also going to adjust my normal. And then I'm going to come up to my tiling and I'm going to adjust my tiling until I see fit. From here, I also feel like I want to adjust my contrast ever so slightly. Now I'm also tempted to add one more value to my shader graph. From here, I've noticed I want to make a little change to my shader graph as well. I want my final lighten to be able to go into a negative value. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open my shader graph again. I'm going to find the lighten, and I'm going to change the min to a -2. I'll also set the max to a 2. I'm just going to save that and go back to the scene, click on my material, find lighten, and I'm going to invert that value ever so slightly. Just like here. Now I'm going to take the contrast down again. And the tiling now I'll take down. I think that is good for me. I'm happy with that. I'm not happy with the smoothness though. There you go, I'm happy with that. And we'll add a tiny little bit on the metallic. Not that much. There we go. There we go. There's your first shader graph used. And you can use this as a base material for a lot of outcomes. And all you need to do is just keep adding different decals to this atlas. So I'll quickly do the same thing. Let's do, my brain is not working right now. I apologize. Let's just do this one. And we'll download that. Once that's downloaded, we'll click Go to Files. Once again, we'll get the albedo and the opacity. We'll drag that into our Unity project. We can then drag from there into Affinity Photo. Now we need to align that. I forgot, they don't like doing them together. Align that to the canvas. Now the opacity needs to be the top one. Render to mask. Mask to below. Now we can resize. Oh, make sure you click on the full layer. Resize. And we can pack an atlas with decals. So that can go there, and we can fill another one there, and another one there, and another one there. And we can save that to make sure that we can keep coming back and adding more. And then we export. And all we do is we overwrite previous file. Replace. And then we go back to Blender, and we can just choose a new decal layer for that new decal. So, for example, I'll add another one next to it. We'll add a loop cut. We'll drag that to maybe there. How big is that decal? Quite big. Slide along to about there. Oh. And then into UV editing mode. I can now find that face that I just created. And make sure that I'm in UV1. I can unwrap. Make sure that that is aligned. Preview texture. And hit dot on the number pad to zoom into it. I can now drag this over and align it. Like so. So that is how you get specific placement of your decal using a shader. Now we can come back and we can save this again before we export. Then we can select all, tab into edit mode, select all, Control T to triangulate, file, export, FBX, find our assets, overwrite our file, forward to Z forward, apply transform, export FBX. Now we can close and don't save. Minimize this for the time being. And there we go. How simple was that? Not very, but you know, it's quite simple once you've made the material, because then you can just keep going into Blender and adding to it, and we don't need to go to shader graph. There is a few more layers that I'm going to add to the shader graph quickly. So from here we're going to go back to Quixel Bridge. Is it? Yes, Quixel Bridge. And we're going to go to imperfections. We're going to find maybe a leakage. No, maybe we'll go for something, maybe some grunge. Yeah, grunge is good. Something like this. So find yourself a grunge like this, and you want to download. I'll check the pack texture first. We don't have the pack texture, so we'll use the normal albedo, which for some reason isn't there. Okay, anyway, we don't need it. We just need one of them at least. We'll take the gloss for now. And we'll take that into our Photoshop service. And we do need to create a new file. And this can be a 2048 by 2048. And I'm just going to take that into that new. I'm going to try anyway. It's not going to let me. Like so. I just Control V'd it over. I'm going to align that into the center of the canvas. I do apologize, by the way. I am still quite new to this particular Photoshop program. I still don't know everything. From here, I'm going to add a layer effect. No, I'm not. I'm going to add an adjustments layer, and I'm going to add a contrast, and I'm going to just pump the contrast and the brightness up on this. Just something like so. I think that'll do. That's perfect. I'm just going to add mask to below to that. You can save it if you want, but you don't necessarily need to. You just need to export this file. So export. Make sure it's once again in the same settings as mine. 24. I can't speak. 2048 by 2048, and I'm just going to name this Dirt 1. Now we're going to rinse this, repeat. Rinse, yes, you know what I mean. Rinse and repeat this process. So what does this one look like? I use this one. We'll go for a download again. Then we'll go to files, and we'll take the gloss. Attempt to open your Photoshop service. It was like, not today. Try again. Don't be like this. Be organized. So then you can find it if something like this happens. So you can find it if something like this happens. Go to gloss, drag to Photoshop, and align that to the center. I'm going to do the same again. Add an adjustment, add a contrast, pull the contrast up on that, pull the brightness up on that to something like so. I'm not sure if you can see it, but I think I have nightlight on, and it's not very good. Yes, that'll do. Just going to adjust again from there. Now I'm going to mask that to below. Going to do the same again, export in 2048 by 2048 PNG, and I'm just going to name this one Dirt 2. Now we're going to go back into Unity. We're going to open our shader graph. I'm going to big screen it again by undocking it and clicking the little big screen icon. Now we're going to find our decal area, and we're going to just drag all of this decal out, just so we can see it a little bit easier. Now from here, we're going to add a texture 2D. I'm going to name this Dirt 1. We're going to add Dirt 1 in. We're going to drag triplanar off that Dirt 1. And from tiling, we're going to drag off that and type float. I'm going to right click, convert that to property, and rename that to Dirt1 Tiling. From there, we can now drag this and type blend, and this wants to go into the blend of this one. We now want to take from the alpha of the decal, so in this case it'll go from the contrast output into base. We can now add another texture 2D, and we can type dirt 2. We can now drag this into the scene, sample from there, and type triplanar. Once again, we want to go from the tiling and type float. Convert this to a property and rename this to dirt tiling 2 or dirt 2 tiling, whatever floats your boat. Pardon the pun. Now from here, we want to just drag this blend. And I'm going to take the output of the blend from the first dirt and add that to another blend. And I'm going to take that also into the blend of the blend. Sorry, too many blends going on. No, my apologies. That goes into the base of blend. Now the output of the triplanar on dirt 2 goes to blend. Now we drag the output to the T on lerp. From there to there. That's okay for now. Now we can hide these to make it a little bit more organized for ourselves. There's our 2 dirt layers, and all I'm going to say to you is that's the biggest cheat code you're going to learn. Now we can also blend them with our albedo if you like. So find your albedo layer. I'm just going to group this so I know it's albedo and name it albedo. I'm going to group the dirts as one. Just name them dirt. Now I can freely now I can freely move them as one. And now we're just going to blend the dirts with the albedos as well. So we're going to take from dirt 1. I'm going to type blend again. I'm going to take from the blend of the blend. Now we're going to take from the output of our albedo, which in this case comes from the white balance. I'm going to take that into the base of the blend. Now from here, we're going to take that into another blend and type base. This will go into the base of the blend. And now the output of dirt 2 will go into the blend of the blend. From here, you can now go to A on lerp. You can now save. Now we're just going to go in and we're just going to add little floats on all of the blends. Probably should have done this first. If you're watching this back and you're not following along, add them. Add them while you're doing it. But yeah, we're just going to add dirt. Oh, we're going to add a float. I want to convert that to a property. I'm going to call that decal dirt 1. And same again for this one, float, convert to property. And I'm going to call this one decal dirt 2. Now, same again for higher up on the albedo. I'm going to find this one for the dirt 1. I'm going to drag off and type float, convert to property. And I'm going to rename this one, brain fart, I'm going to name this one albedo dirt 1. Now from here, I'm going to go to the dirt 2 that blends with the albedo, and from the opacity of that, I'm going to add a float. I'm now going to convert that to a property, and I'm going to rename that to albedo dirt 2. You can add strength if you like. Now, adjust the settings on the floats. So tiling we can leave as default. Just change to slider mode. I'm also going to change metallic while I'm here. Change the mode on the dirt to a slider. And we'll check the values afterwards, but for now we'll leave them as default. I'm just going to now attach that back to the scene and go back there. Okay, now we'll go back into the material, and we need to add our 2 dirts. So dirt 1 and dirt 2. We can adjust the tiling for dirt 1, tiling for dirt 2. And now we can adjust the opacity by adjusting the bottom slider. And we can adjust the opacity for the second one by adjusting the second slider. Now we can once again adjust the tiling for the desired size. Oh, wrong one. That'll do for me for now. I'm not liking the strength, to be honest with you. I'm going to pull the strength down. In fact, no, I'm not. I'm going to show you a fine example of using the effects. I'm going to add that up, and I'm going to go up to the lighten, and I'm going to pull the lighten up a little bit to around about there. Maybe even from here, pull the AO down a little bit. Like so. There's a very cheap material. Ignore my little error here. Now from here, we're going to watch the decal. And we're going to go down to the decal dirts. And we're just going to turn these up. I've made a mistake somewhere. Let's go and find the mistake. Looks right to me. I'm just going to delete this. I don't want the contrast anymore. And I'm going to find alpha decal strength. I'm just going to delete that. And I'm going to take from the alpha into the base. I'm going to change that to multiply and multiply. It took my brain a while to function, but I got there. Now going to click on the material and change the settings to get the desired effect. something to make it look a bit worn, like it's been there for a while, like so, you know, like so. I'll show you the other one too. Make it look like it's roughed up. Still noticing my smoothness is really high. I'm going to change my smoothness. There we go. Something like that is good. Makes it look like it's worn, but then nowhere else has any decal. And there's my advanced decal for the day. It's a very long video and it took me a long time to process what I was even doing. I apologize if I rambled. I hope you learned. I am out. If you have any questions at all, you get stuck, please message me. I know there's a lot in this video, but there's a lot to learn from it all. Shader graph is very powerful if you learn to use it correctly. I'm Winx and I am out. I'm off to bed. Goodbye.